Okay guys, it's April the 26th. We're right at 20 to 2 in the afternoon. And we're back out here grinding on these welds, trying to finish this panel up. And what I've done, I've taken the tops of the welds down just till they just started to touch down. I'm using the rock there to do that with. You guys have seen that. And that's a lot of spot welds. You don't really realize it until you start grinding them all down. Anyway, the next step for me is I'm gonna go ahead and finish the back side, do a full finish on those. I'm gonna finish those out. Then I'm gonna go underneath and finish the flange areas. And then I'm gonna come back around here on the front. The front will be the last thing that I do. And we'll do both sides in a full grind, and then we'll be ready to clean up and do some sanding. Okay guys, I've got the inside area of the trunk all ground down. Everywhere that there was a plug weld underneath, it's all been ground down. I will have to feather that old epoxy back with some 80 and 180. I went ahead and put the car up on jack stands in the rear just to kind of help me underneath it. I didn't want to do this when I was welding. I wanted everything on the rear wheels. I didn't want anything twisted or anything. I wanted it to set as it would normally. So let's go underneath. So I've got this one flange cleaned up, and I didn't go real crazy and try to get it all the way smooth. I didn't want to take a chance in weakening it. And I don't really have anything good that will grind in these areas. The belt sander does okay, but it can only get to about right in here. So luckily, I don't have a big mound coming through. But it is taking some time to clean up. This one right here actually had blown through. I didn't realize it, and it had melted part of this away, so I had to re-weld it right in that area and grind it down. So we still got this flange here and the frame rails, but we can just get to this one flange on each side. So we're going to go ahead and get that cleaned up, and then we'll be out on the front of the Crossrail working. Okay guys, we've got the welds ground down on all the flanges, and while I've been under the car, I've actually been doing some sanding around it to prep for some more epoxy. Let's take a look. Okay, so right here is one of the gas tank braces here. And what we're going to do, like I've said before, we're going to just mix up a little bit of epoxy and brush coat the bare metal areas. And then of course, once this thing is on the rotisserie, we'll come in here and give these areas a good sand. And then we'll probably put some seam sealer down and a couple coats of epoxy. And we'll dress the bottom up really good at that point. But we're just going to put some epoxy down on the bare metal areas. I've still got a little bit more sanding to do, like right in there. I'd like to get rid of some of that burnt look where it burned the epoxy. But there's only so much of this stuff you can take at one time. That's what I'm working on, guys. So we'll go ahead and start working on the front just as a change of pace. And when I get tired of doing that, I may jump back under there and do some more sanding on those flange areas. And I'll bring you back when I have a little bit more to show. Okay guys, we're grinding down the front of these welds here on the Crossrail. And I've just got this little section here to do. That's the passenger side frame rail. I know everybody's got different ways of doing it, but there might be somebody here watching this video wondering how I'm doing this. So for this video, since we are grinding down these welds, I'll show you how I've been doing it. This is that rock I was showing you. So I went ahead and I've taken it and I've taken the bulk of the weld down just till it's just barely raised up from the base metal. Next, I'm going to switch over to an angle grinder. So I'm going to be using my angle grinder now, and I believe this is a 1-inch adapter, and this is actually used to be a 2-inch roll lock, and normally I would use that on this die grinder. And you can see how the edges overlap just a little bit. But once you use this up enough, you can't really use it anymore on that adapter, but you can cut them down, and I'll cut them down to fit this one. And I've actually started using the smaller one just about for everything. I've got the 2-inch, the 3-inch, and the 1-inch. But what I've been doing here lately is using this to get the rest of the weld down to the base metal, and then I'll come in with an old one of these that's ripped up, and I'll put it on it, and I'll just barely come in and flush that out where it's all flush and level. And then after I do that, I got an 80 grit that I'll put on here, and I'll just lightly run over it with an 80 grit. So there's different ways of doing it, but I just thought I'd show you guys how I was doing it, and thought I'd bring you along for this last segment. And that's pretty much how I've been doing it. I have used this one quite a bit before, and after I've got done with this one, I've come in with a 3-inch and just kind of finalized everything. I hardly put any pressure on the die grinder at all when I do it. Like I said, I know everybody's got different ways of doing it, but that's how I've been doing it, and just thought I'd throw that in here in this video since that's what we're working on. Okay, YouTube, that should be it with the grinding of the welds. And I always get nervous when I do this because I don't want to make the panel weak. I don't want to take too much of the metal off. But that's one of the things in the last video that I was talking about, was making sure that I get that penetration on the back side. That way I know I've got a solid piece of metal all the way to the back side, and I just don't have a weld sitting on top of another piece of metal. But overall, real happy with the way it came out. You can still see a few places where it's welded at. That's okay. Showed you guys all this before, inside of the trunk, and you can hear that wind hitting that garage door. Really windy outside today. So guys, we got a mess to clean up here, and we're gonna get working on that, and then we're gonna break out some sandpaper, get the sanding, and I'll bring you back when we get ready to coat everything in some epoxy. Okay guys, it's getting late. It's almost 11:15 tonight. Still April the 26th. I ain't been out here the whole time this evening, but I've been out here quite a bit. I took a little break, done some yard work, and then done some grilling for the family and spent a little time with them. But come back out here and been out here a few hours and been doing some sanding, and I've just about got this Crossrail ready. There's a few little nooks and crannies I need to get a Scotch-Brite pad in, and I still need to sand on the inside of the trunk, but let's take a look at it. Actually pretty happy with the way it's coming out. A lot of hard areas to sand here. On these bigger areas, I went ahead and took DA with some 80 grit paper, kind of feathered the paint back and kind of took out some of those rough scratches that I had in it with the roll lock. Even though that's an 80 grit roll lock, it puts a different scratch in the metal versus what you would normally have with the DA. Like I said, I still got to get with a Scotch-Brite pad in a few little areas. I've got a Scotch-Brite pad that I've been using, but it just wouldn't cut it in those corners, so I'm gonna break out a new one, and it'll definitely get in those corners. Still got to get up in here just a little bit. Same thing on this side. I got to get some areas right in there. But for the most part, I really like how it's turning out.